A show based on the facts, honesty, the man, the myth, the legend. ChristiTutionalist, Joseph M. Leonard.
Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with thelibertybeacon.com. And I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm going to introduce my guest, Ed Temple, in just a minute, but a little behind the scenes, even for the audio only. Of course, you can be looking on at J. Leonard Detroit, BitChute, Brighteon, Rumble, YouTube to see the video behind the scenes sneak peek. But even beyond that, I'm fired up right now, and I'll tell you why. I actually recorded 2 segments right before the Zoom I'm having with Ed Temple about a show, ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, Season 1, Episode 45, give you a bit of a hint at when we're actually recording this, which will drop April 27th, that show, not this show. The second segment, I had to go into Bidenomics again. I'm not going to talk about that with Ed here, but social media trolls had to deal with that as a second segment. And I actually recorded the second segment before I did the first segment, which is for the show actually titled, When Are You Going to Actually Fight? And that is apropos, in my mind, to lead into why I'm talking to Ed Temple today. And I'm holding up his book. And of course, the green screen, the top of his book is green. So of course, you can't see it where it says The Last Terrorist. So let's get the usual pleasantries out of the way. Welcome, Ed Temple.
Hello. Pleasure to be on with you.
And of course, before we officially hit record, I was giving you a hard time about the Ohio State banner, me being from here in Michigan. But we'll put all that rivalry aside, and let's make like it's The Masked Singer, and it's the end of the show, and they're cueing the Who. Who are you? Who? Right? Who the heck is Ed Temple?
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. My name's Ed Temple. I have authored 5 books. I am a teacher, been teaching since, 1997, and taught in Florida, taught in Pennsylvania, taught in Ohio, taught in the inner city schools, the country school, and now a private Christian school. And I've taught everything from certified in social studies and in mathematics. So I have taught everything from American history, world history, psychology, sociology, to calculus. So I've kind of had my feet wet in all of it. I wrote a book for the ACT and for a math book for the ACT. And then I've also written the book that you're talking about, as well as Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation 3, God Values 3, So Should We, as well as a couple of other books. So. Like music is the devil's playground.
That's great.
And, so that's me.
Yeah. So you hadn't taught at that heathen Ohio State place.
Nah, actually, I did for a summer camp. I was an instructor at Ohio State. So.
And for the record, for those reading in the transcript, I'm laughing. It's just a loving, fun jab. The college rivalry there. It's nothing major, nothing serious. I'm not being serious here, just some fun. And yes, your history background I greatly appreciate the review you wrote for me for Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, giving your history background in indeed kind of endorsing the fact that indeed I did my homework. I did my research. It's historical fiction, or as I call it, faction, so that the history teaches people something and it lends credibility to the fictional aspects of the tale being told. And as well as you're part of the George Espinlaub show that I was on. Thank you for having me on that. Tell us about your work with George Espinlaub.
Yeah, George and I haven't done a show in a little while, but George was connected to me from Neil Haley, and George is we're still good friends. We had done a whole bunch of podcasts together that from pretty controversial topics all the way to trivial topics, but we were hitting hard, for a while there. Everything from authors to hitting. We even hit the Black Lives Matter topic. We've hit a bunch of things. And George likes to have on a lot of musicians and Man on the Street. We did that was real fun. And so he's got a slew of topics. Neil Haley does a lot more of the Hollywood types and a bunch of different celebrities and things like that.
Yeah, and you even had an idiot like me on, and I appreciate it.
No.
So I'm going to hold up the back of the book because that actually shows on the screen for those looking on the video behind the screens. So let me read the back, and then we'll get into the Marxists are on the prowl. Are the end times here? Western civilization is on the brink. The leader of the free world has Marxists within that are openly calling for the overthrow of America. Ed knows the Marxists because he worked with many of them for decades. Enjoy the precision when Ed cuts through the smoke screens and uncovers the plans to fundamentally change, transform, as the Obama used the term, change America. Can America avoid the takedown of Western civilization? The Marxists have one more pillar to knock down. So that, again, why you correlate in my mind to the April 27 season 1 episode 45 show. When are you going to actually fight? Like The Last Terrorist is kind of about that. When are you going to wake up and push back, right? That was your motivation to write the book, I take it.
Absolutely. I've been before the Black Lives Matter coming out and admitting that they were a Marxist organization. That's one of the reasons I stepped away from the government schools, because they were pushing Marxism. They weren't obviously they weren't calling it that. A while back, we had something called the Ohio graduation test, and I taught it, so I know very familiar with the standards. And one of the approaches that we were told we had to take was to get rid of the word communism and change it to command economy, and change socialism to mixed economy, and capitalism to free market. And so you take away the sting of the word and you take away the meaning of the word, and all of a sudden you can change people's minds about the word. And so now this is what we're dealing with now, because they have sanitized it.
Yeah, I have several thelibertybeacon.com articles, as well as before I started writing for them on Before It's News, and before that for Red State, and before that Grassfire and Freedom Works. And I go way back to when the internet wasn't even called the internet and writing all that time. And indeed, the left twisting and warping of language so that terms don't have meaning anymore, or they could try to redefine them as you laid out. Now, I'm holding up the book sideways. Again, it's not showing very well on the screen, but to point out that it's a fairly thin, short read. Now, that doesn't diminish the value of the book. It means it's a lot more affordable than a lot of other books, right? And you go into some great stuff in here, and the price alone, in my mind, as I'm holding the back, is like 5 pages of citations you show your academic background and indeed cross-reference and cite sources that are invaluable. The cost of the book alone for those citation references are worth every penny in my mind.
Absolutely. The book, I kind of, way I see myself is more like, that you have the Gospels, and each of the Gospels, has their own version of the, what happens with Jesus. And Mark is the one that kind of cuts to the chase. So that's kind of where the style of the book is. We just get right to it. There's not a lot of, fluff. You don't have to skim read it. You can read right through it. There's not much to it, except there's not much, extra. It's just gets right to it. It's relevant. It's more relevant today than when I wrote it. So it's very much spot on in terms of what's going on is very predictable, and it's not been people are just finding out about it. But it's been an incremental process that's been very much calculated.
Yeah, and again, now in my ChristiTutionalist Politics, the book that complements the show that came out last August, there is a chapter that I do on, now I've lost my train of thought. Will real Christians save America? And how the alphabet agencies, the deep state controlled by the left, has weaponized, like we see with Trump trials,
Absolutely.
The FBI literally going to Catholic Latin masses and trying to declare them as domestic terrorist threats. Hence the last terrorist title and point in the book at why it's important. And again, when are you going to actually fight? Going back to season 1, episode 45 show, when are you going to say enough is enough? I'm not taking this crap anymore and going to fight back. Why it is so important that I have you on to discuss your book and that people buy the book. Now, one of the chapters, again, behind the scenes, you could kind of see the baby in the picture there, obviously pro-life, but that title of that chapter there, Critical Race Theory and Its Implications. So just for a sneak about one of the chapters, again, I don't want to give away the book entirely. We want people to buy it. But yeah, talk about critical race theory and its implication so that they know they need to buy the book for the other chapters.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ed Bondarenka, and I host Your American Heritage on Saturdays at 2 in the afternoon on this station. Your American Heritage is a show about the struggle we find ourselves in and how to react to it in the light of our biblical and American heritage. Listen to it while you're working around the house, the garage, cleaning the guns, walking the dog, driving, or just lazing around. Join me at 2 o'clock Saturdays here on Wham Radio, 1600 AM, 92.7 FM.
God bless America.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So the critical race theory, obviously, it starts off with the premise that that there's certain people, in particular, whether you're in the case right now, the push is against white males, basically. But it's not just white males; it's anyone that is considered someone that's been in power. And of course, when you start talking about that, there's inferences to Christians that are Christian males. That's like you're the worst. But
Christian.
Bottom line is that you have this
Christian straight males. Yeah, the number one target.
I left out that part.
Yeah,
left that part out. But yeah,
anyway.
So it's the Marxist the critical race theory is part of this Marxist ideology, basically, because it wants to flip the script, and basically, so the premise is, well, certain people have been discriminated against, so therefore it's effectively it's payback time, but it's also, you can't really get mad at these people for doing it because it's in their DNA. They can't help but be a racist. Okay. And so therefore, since they're inferior because they have this inferior thought of being, that they think that they're better than others, we're going to turn the tables now and we're going to punish you. And meanwhile, everyone that's been in their mind discriminated against, we're going to flip the script and we are going to, we're going to do reverse racism, if you want to call it that. And so,
right. No, and that's the important point. Racism is racism, whether it be white on black, black on white, black or white on Asian, Asian, Pacific, like the Japanese against the supposed white devil beast United States in World War II, right? Racism is racism. There's no such thing as really original and reverse racism. It's all racism and it's all wrong. And holding you and I accountable for slavery we had nothing to do with is patently absurd. And again, it's the Marxist underlying tone of, I want to steal something from somebody else rather than have to earn it. This constant victimhood, right? This constant somebody owes me. They too damn lazy to make use of the equality our system gives them and instead demand this fake quasi-equity of outcomes, which means I steal from you rather than work for it.
Yeah, and to me, that's ultimately, this is all, even though this has been an incremental plan, the Marxist plan it's really not about equality, it's about power. And so the idea, this is how you pit people against each other. And same thing with, what's connected to the whole Trump fiasco, the idea that you call people what you actually are, and then you turn around and pit people against each other. And then what's going to end up happening is once the top blows off, if they get their way, then you end up with something crazy, and then you need the government to put out that fire, and the government gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you'll be begging for them because you have nothing left and nothing else, no one else to depend on besides God, and so there you go. So then they get all the power. And of course, it's not too. Right now you have the last election with Cruz against Ted Cruz against who was he running against?
Beto.
Ted Cruz's
Beto.
Yeah, Beto, and Beto had about 45% of the vote. So you flip Texas, it's game over.
Yeah. Beto, the fake Hispanic, which again then immediately ties back to what we're talking about, identity politics, right?
Exactly.
Like Abraham Lincoln said, you cannot lift another up just by tearing another down, which is what the left is about. Never building up, only tearing down. And the cultural Marxism, as you alluded to, you didn't say it, psychological projection of accuse others of divide and conquer, which
rules for radicals.
Yes, rules for radicals. Yes,
exactly.
Their identity politics to divide and conquer and keep people separated rather than recognize it's us, not versus them per se. At the bottom, it's us versus those ruling elites, deep staters not the uniparty. Sinos, rhinos, fascocrats are all part of the establishment, insider, deep state. The party is what we, the people, make it or not. So if you're not involved and you want to whine about rhinos being too much like Democrats, guess who's partly at fault for that? You, for not being involved and making sure those differences are extolled and highlighted and voted those principles and values in rather than selling out every time to the left.
Yes, and just recently, James O'Keefe, he did an undercover operation, and they had one of the chief advisors actually it's been several different ones he's had undercover, and effectively they are admitting, they're being recorded admitting that to this day the current president, if you want to call him the current president is being who's manipulating him right now, who's calling all the shots? Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. And what did both of them have in common? Saul Alinsky. Both of them did research papers on him. Both of them taught it. Both of them use that tactic, and they're playing right into this system of, and of course, what do they say? They wanted to transform America. In other words, transform it into their Marxist utopia.
And they all also have in common, my friend Bruce Fleury wrote the book, The Negro Project, all about Margaret Sanger. They all have her and laud her, which actually the Nazis got their eugenics program from, and was all about exterminating the black race. So at the same time, the NAACP, that was founded originally by abolitionist Republicans, both black and white, has been co-opted and taken over by the left, funneling money to Sanger's planned slaughterhood, killing disproportionately more black children. The advancement for colored people, I was at a rally and a woman had a sign that she loaned me, the National Association for the Abortion of Colored People, right?
Exactly.
They're abolishing colored people. They're not advancing the colored people cause. And again, I've used the term before, anybody out there comes in and hears, oh my God, there's a white guy talking about color. It's in the name, stupid. They called themselves that. If it's offensive, they need to change the name of the organization. But of course, they have to use the example, colored people isn't politically correct, or as I call it, pathetical corruptness anymore. You can't use that. That is their deflection rather than deal with the fact that a black organization is helping to exterminate the next black generation.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had you mentioned the podcast that George and I had, and we had a woman from the NAACP. Actually, she was from the NAACP LA chapter, I think, and she had made news because she actually wanted school choice. She's not a fan of the government schools in California. She wanted school choice, and the NAACP, funded by the teacher union, said, you got to go. They pushed her out of there with the quickness. Yep. So she's not allowed speaking for kids. She has to toe the line if she wants to be in the NAACP.
Yep, exactly. Because again, NAACP was a conservative, I dare say, ChristiTutionalist organization. It's been corrupted and co-opted like so many things, like the education, since the Department of Education was unconstitutionally founded to push all this Marxism down from the deep state onto all localities. And yeah, how dare that black person think for herself? As Biden would say, she ain't black. Right? Precisely. School choice, indeed. Every black person I know wants school choice in some way, shape, or form because they want their kids out of these failed indoctrination factories.
Right. Yeah, and they can't. And the irony is, not to tell them which party to vote for, but every one of that I had her and others in my. Well, she never said what political party she voted for, but I had others that are, that were staunch for school choice. Yet they are also staunch Democrats, and it's almost an oxymoron. Okay, so you can't. You won't find a Democrat that speaks for school choice. You're just not going to find it.
No, because they're beholden to the teacher union donations. No, I was going to use the oxymoronic word myself. You took it right out of my mouth. So, Ed Temple, author of The Last Terrorist, tell people as we wrap it up, where can people reach out to you? Where can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can obviously. I have an author page on Amazon. If you wanted to email me, you could email me at coachedtemple@gmail. coachedtemple@gmail. Obviously, the books that I have are on pretty much anywhere they sell books online. But Amazon's probably the one that gets the most sales.
80% of all books these days go through Amazon. You have a book, it has to be on Amazon. But I'm huge shop local. If you got a mom and pop bookshop still struggling to survive, go there. They can get Ed's books. They can get my books for you. Buy them as a bundle. Buy them as gifts. We're not close to Christmas. I don't think this show is going to push out to fall or winter to suggest buy them as Christmas gifts, but maybe it'll hit before the 4th of July so we can say buy them as 4th of July gifts to your friends.
There you go.
Thanks for coming on, Ed. Take care, my friend. God bless. See you around.
God bless you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, no fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help to grow the show. Just wanted to give a brief shout out and thank you to all the folks on iHeartRadio and Player FM for being 2 in the top 3 platforms that my show, ChristiTutionalist Politics, is most often listened to. So thank you all. Take care. God bless.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.